Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Nanda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra,
Chandra,
Jaya
Jaya
Gaura Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda.
Vrinda.
Can someone please read?
Can I read?
Please.
Whenever we speak of Supreme Personality of Godhead, we add the word Shri, indicating that he is full with 6 opulences. This means that he is eternally a person. If he were not a person, the 6 opulences could not be present in fullness. Therefore, whenever it is said that the Supreme Absolute Truth is impersonal, what is meant is that his personality is not material. To distinguish his transcendental body from the material bodies, some philosophers have explained him as having no material personality. In other words, his material personality is denied and his spiritual personality established. In the Shwetash, um, Shvetashvatra Upanishad, it is clearly explained. Apanipado jnano grahita pashyati chakshusasa snoti akarnaha saveti vedayam nacha tasyati veta tam ahur agrayam purusham mahantam. The absolute truth has no material legs and hands, but he has spiritual hands by which he accepts everything offered to him. He has no material eyes, but he has spiritual eyes by which he can see everything and anything. He has no material ears, but he can hear everything and anything with his spiritual ears. Having perfect senses, he knows past, future, and present. Indeed, he knows everything, but no one can understand him. For by material senses, he cannot be understood. Being the origin of all emanations, he is the supreme, the greatest, the personality of Godhead.
So the Shuteshwara Upanishad is clearly saying that God, he does not have a material form, but a spiritual form. You know, many people say God has no form, but that means he does not have a material form. It doesn't mean he doesn't have a spiritual form. If we think form means material, that's our idea. Why? Because we have experience of only material form. But the Shastras are telling us, hey, there's not only material form, there is spiritual form also. The absolute truth, he's a person. He has eyes, hands, legs, a mouth, and he has all these. He has a form, a spiritual form, transcendental form. He's omniscient, he knows past, present, and future. So it's difficult to understand him. Krishna, what does he say? How can he be understood? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says he can be understood only by devotional service. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. All the scriptures say the only way we can understand Krishna is bhakti, by devotional service. Bhakti begins by hearing and chanting. And so God, the definition of God means he has the 6 opulences in full. You know, he has fame, wealth, beauty, strength, knowledge, renunciation, everything. So he is a person, no? Yeah, because he has all these opulences. That's the definition of God. So here Lord Chaitanya is trying to explain to us that God has a form, you know, a spiritual form. All the Shastras are saying that.
There are many similar Vedic hymns which definitely establish that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person who is not of this material world. The Hayashir Panchatantra explains that although in each and every Upanishad, the Supreme Brahman is first viewed as impersonal, At the end, the personal form of Supreme Lord is accepted. Another example is Sri Ishwar Upanishad, the 15th mantra of which runs as follows. Hiraya mane patrena satyaya apitam mukham tattvam pushan aparanu satya dharmaya drishtate. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the maintainer of whole universe. Everyone is sustained by your mercy. Therefore, devotional service unto you is the true religion of life. I am engaged in such devotional service, and so I request you to please maintain me and ever increasingly engage me in your transcendental service. You are the eternal form of Satchit Anand, and your effulgence is spread all over the creation, just like the sunshine. As the sun disk is covered by the glaring like the sunshine, as the sun disk is covered by the glaring sunshine, so your transcendental form is covered by the Brahma Jyoti. I desire to find you within that Brahma Jyoti. Therefore, please remove this glaring effulgence.
Please continue.
Okay. In this verse, it is clearly stated that the eternal blissful cognizant form of Supreme Lord is to be found within the glaring effulgence of Brahma Jyoti, which emanates from the body of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the personal body of the Lord is the source of Brahma Jyoti, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.27, that the impersonal Brahman is dependent on the Supreme Personality is also stated in the Hayashirsha Panchatantra. In every other Vedic scripture, such as Upanishads, wherever there is a talk of the impersonal Brahman in the beginning, the Supreme Personality is finally established at the end. The Isha Upanishad mantra we quoted above indicates that the Supreme Absolute Truth is both personal, impersonal, and personal eternally, but that his personal aspect is more important than the impersonal one.
So here Lord Chaitanya is giving so much evidence that even if the Upanishads in the beginning, they begin that God is impersonal, Brahman, Brahmajyoti, but at the end they will say God is a person. Because when we see God from far, then we think, okay, he is this light. But as we go closer, as we come nearer to God, then we will see, oh, he's a person. Prabhupada would say, when we are seeing the hill from far away, it looks like a cloud. One person is looking at the hill from very far, so it looks like a cloud. One is going closer at the hill. So he's seeing, oh, it's green and has trees and plants, but one is really entering the hill and can see, oh, wow, there's so many different variety here. Different types of flowers are there. There's waterfalls, rivers, and so many different things are there. So everyone is having a different angle, But the more one goes closer, the more one can understand the true nature. So the more one goes closer to God, one can understand that, oh, God is a person. And all the Shastras are saying that. All the Shastras, there is no contradiction. They only complement each other. So, of course, here the Sri Upanishad is mentioned, Hiranmayana Patrena, that kindly remove this glaring effulgence. Like when we are trying to see the sun, when it's like bright, the sunshine is bright, and everywhere only you see a sunshine, it gets very difficult to see the sun. So the devotee is praying, kindly remove this glaring effulgence so I can see your beautiful smiling face. So the devotee understands that the effulgence, it's coming from the body of Krishna, Krishna's form. That's what all the Shastras, Upanishads are saying. So he's praying that you are the maintainer of the whole universe. We may think that we are maintaining, we may have that idea, but the real maintainer is Krishna. Kathopanishad says, Nitya Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. That among all the eternals, there is one eternal who is maintaining everyone, and that is Krishna. Each of us, Krishna is maintaining. Everyone is sustained by your mercy. We don't realize it, but it's Krishna's mercy on us. And so the devotee is praying that therefore devotional service unto you is the true religion of life. The Sanatan Dharma is bhakti, rendering bhakti. And so the devotee is praying, kindly remove this glaring effulgence and let me see your Sachidananda Vigraha.
In
So
this
Krishna's
verse,
I'm sorry, no,
sorry.
we read this. We read this. We are going to read the next one.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah. Yes.
According to a mantra in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Yato va imami bhutani jayante. This cosmic manifestation is an emanation from the Supreme Absolute Truth, and it rests in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Thus, the Absolute Truth has been called the ablative, causative, and locative performer. And as such, he must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for these are the symptoms of personality. As the ablative performer, he is the source of all thinking, feeling, and willing in this cosmic manifestation. Without thinking, feeling, and willing, there is no possibility of the arrangement and design of the cosmic manifestation. Then again, he is causative, for he is the original designer of the cosmos, and he is also locative, that is, everything is resting in his energy. These attributes are all clearly attributes of his personality.
Srila Prabhupada is saying ablative, causative, and locative performer. So that he has to be a person. Ablative performer means he's thought of this entire cosmic manifestation. He's planned it. We think this Big Bang happened and everything happened by chance. But we can see in our own experience, nothing happens by chance. It needs so much planning. Even if we have to cook, we have to plan, I have to go buy supermarket, market, whatever, so much planning. So this whole universe, how did it come about? It's Krishna's plan. Thinking, feeling, and willing. He willed it. He's designed it in this way. So he's the cause of it. And it's his energy. He's created it. So that's why I said locative. Everything is resting on him. Krishna's not borrowing anyone's energy to do it. He's not borrowing anything from anyone. It's all his own.
In the Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.3, it is said that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead desires to become many, he glances over material nature. As also confirmed in Aitreya Upanishad 1.1.1, Sa Ikasta, the Lord glanced at material nature. The cosmic manifestation did not exist before his glance. Therefore, his glance is not materially contaminated. His seeing power exists before the material creation. Therefore, his body is not material. His thinking, feeling, and acting are all transcendental. In other words, it should be concluded that the mind by which the Lord thinks, feels, and wills is transcendental, and that the eyes by which he glances over the material nature are also transcendental. Since his transcendental body and all his senses existed before the material creation, the Lord also has a transcendental mind and transcendental thinking, feeling, and willing. This is the conclusion of all the Vedic literature.
We may think mind means material only. Thinking, feeling, willing means only material. I'm thinking something, so it has to be a material thought. But Krishna has a transcendental mind. So his thinking, feeling, willing is all transcendental. It's not material. Krishna existed before the creation. Even Shankaracharya says that Lord Narayan existed before the creation, before the material creation. So the Supreme Lord, his mind, his thinking, feeling, willing is transcendental. You see, what happens is we think that God is like us, same to same. I have a material mind, so God also should have a material mind. We try to do that without understanding there's a difference between God and us. We are inside this material body, whereas God does not ever have a material body. We have the tendency to come inside a material body.
The word Brahman is found everywhere throughout the Upanishads. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are all taken together as the absolute truth. Brahman and Paramatma realizations are considered stages towards the ultimate realization, which is realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the real conclusion of all the Vedic literatures.
Realization toward the ultimate realization, stages toward ultimate realization. Brahman, Paramatma, and ultimately Bhagwan. Brahmatmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwaneti Shabdayate. Brahmeti Paramatmeti. That's what Bhagavatam says, that the transcendentalist, he understands this entire Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. This is the absolute truth. Not only one portion, no, the complete aspect of the absolute truth. Like a father is there, so then wife will be there, children will be there, everything, right? When we say father, automatically wife and children will be coming to the mind. So God has this light coming from his form, and he is Paramatma, like that.
Thus, according to the evidences afforded by various Vedic scriptures, the Supreme Lord Krishna is accepted as the ultimate goal of the Brahman realization. The Bhagavad Gita 7.7 confirms that there is nothing superior to Krishna. Madhvacharya, one of the greatest acharyas in the Brahma's disciplic succession, has stated in his explanation of the Vedanta Sutra that everything can be seen through the authorities of the scriptures. He has quoted a verse from the Bhasya Puran in which it is stated that the Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, Atharva Ved, Mahabharat, Panchatantra, and the original Ramayana are actually Vedic evidence. The Puranas accepted by the Vaishnavas are also considered Vedic evidence. Indeed, whatever is contained in that literature should be taken without argument as the ultimate conclusion. And all these literatures proclaim Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So Madhvacharya, one of the acharyas in our line, in his Vedanta Sutra commentary, in his explanation, he's saying, so see through the eyes of knowledge. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, seeing through the eyes of knowledge, 13th chapter. So here Madhvacharya is saying, seeing through the authority of the scriptures, through knowledge. And all the scriptures are saying Krishna is God. All the scriptures, he is mentioning all this Rig Veda, Yajur, Sam, Atharva, Mahabharata, Panchatantra, Ramayana, original Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana. They all Vedic evidence. Also the Puranas, they all say Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedascha sarvet aham eva vedya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, by all the Vedas I am to be known. So if someone says I've read the Vedas, means they should understand Krishna. Otherwise, there is no meaning to reading the Vedas. If one does not come to understand that Krishna is God.
Chapter 25, Personal and Impersonal Realization. The Puranas are supplementary Vedic literatures because sometimes in the original Vedas, the subject matter is too difficult for the common man to understand. The Puranas explain matters by the use of stories and historical incidents. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.32, it is stated, Maharaj Nand and the cowherd men and other inhabitants of Vrindavan are very fortunate because the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, full of bliss, is now engaged there in his eternal pastimes as their friend.
So Bhagavatam is saying the Brajvasis are very, very fortunate. Why the Brajvasis fortunate? Nanda Maharaj, the Gopals, and other Brajvasis. Why? Because God, Krishna, the Supreme Brahman. Where is the Brahmajyoti coming from? Where is the Brahman coming from? Who is the Supreme Brahman? That's Krishna. And here he is having his beautiful leelas with them. So what are the Puranas? The Puranas are, why did Vyasadeva compile the Puranas? Because the Vedas are very difficult to understand, the language of the Vedas. So to explain the meaning of the Vedas, Vyasadeva wrote these Puranas. And he explained it in form of stories, historical incidents. So it's easier, When we hear stories, it's easy for us to understand. So that's what the Puranas are. And Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Bhagavad Purana. So the Bhagavad Purana said, that the Supreme Brahman, God, Krishna, is now here playing with the Brajvasis. So it's not that God is impersonal and then he takes a form and becomes Krishna. Many people think like that originally God is light, and then from this light he's taken up a form. No, it's ulta. Like God has a form, and from this form is coming the light. It's not that when the light is there and then from this light, the light bulb comes. It's not that, light and then light becomes the light bulb and then again becomes the light. No, the light bulb is there and from there the light is. So Krishna exists. From his form, the light is coming. That's the order.
According to the verse beginning, Apani Pado Yavano Grahita, Shuteshwar Upanishad 3.19, although Brahman has no material hands and legs, he nonetheless walks in a very statedly way, and accepts everything that is offered to him. This suggests that he has transcendental limbs and is therefore not impersonal. One who does not understand the Vedic principles simply stresses the impersonal material features of the Supreme Absolute Truth and thus unceremoniously calls the Absolute Truth impersonal. The impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers want to establish the Absolute Truth as impersonal, but this contradicts the Vedic literature. Although the Vedic literature confirms the fact that the Supreme Absolute Truth has multiple energies, the Mayavadi impersonalist still try to establish that the Absolute Truth has no energy. The fact remains, however, that the Absolute Truth is full of energy and is a person as well. It is not possible to establish him as impersonal.
So God is a person and he is omnipotent. He has many, many energies, potencies, and that is stated in all the literatures. All the literatures. Now, if we try to manipulate the literature, misinterpret the literature, and call absolute truth not a person, he does not have a form, then we are contradicting the Vedas. And even if we say it, we can't change the fact that God is a person. We may believe something, but the fact is that God is a person, and he has all these energies by which it's possible for him to do the things that he does. So here, Lord Chaitanya Shveteshvatara Upanishad, so Shveteshvatara Upanishad is saying that God does not have material hands and legs, but he walks and accepts everything. So means he has spiritual. He has spiritual hands and legs and spiritual eyes. That's how you can see. God is a person with a spiritual body, spiritual senses, spiritual mind. He's completely spiritual. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Any questions or comments?
No.
So is that point clear? That it's not that God is light and then from the light he takes up a form and comes as Krishna and that he becomes light again. No.
Yeah. So that means that simultaneously, that three, right? The Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan.
Yes.
All are the features of God only.
Paramatma is the feature. God is a person. And the light is coming from his body. The effulgence is coming from his body. Yeah, all three are simultaneous. Yes. Okay, so stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.